The parent has left the chat. Kids are turning up at school too tired to learn because they have been scrolling through the night. MPs are now calling for a statutory social media ban for under 16s, arguing that addictive design features such as infinite scrolling, disappearing messages, and algorithm-driven content are fueling screen time, disrupting sleep, damaging attention, and feeding behavioral problems. They also want schools to adopt phone-free or lock-away policies instead of weak, not seen or heard rules. But let's stop pretending this is only about TikTok. This is not just about Instagram. This is not just about Snapchat. This is not just about YouTube Shorts, TikTok Lives, Roblox chats, group messages, streaks, reels, filters, influencers, algorithmic slop, or some 14-year-old watching a stranger eat neon noodles at 1:47 in the morning. This is about parents who have lost control of their households. This is about adults who handed childhood over to a glowing rectangle and then acted shocked when the rectangle started raising the child. This is about homes where the bedtime routine has been replaced with blue light, where discipline has been replaced with just 5 more minutes, where parenting has been outsourced to an app designed by adults in Silicon Valley who do not know your child, do not love your child, do not care if your child can read, sleep, focus, empathize, regulate emotions, or survive year 9 without turning into a sleep-deprived goblin with a cracked attention span and a ring light addiction. And now schools are expected to fix it. Of course they are, because in Britain, when the home collapses, the school is expected to become a parent, therapist, police officer, nurse, social worker, nutritionist, mediator, digital detox clinic, emotional repair center, and miracle factory with a leaking roof and a photocopier that has been dying since 2008. Teachers are standing at the front of classrooms trying to teach algebra to children whose brains have been marinated overnight in dopamine syrup. They are trying to teach Shakespeare to pupils who went to sleep at 3 a.m. after watching 900 videos, 14 arguments, 3 influencer breakdowns, 1 conspiracy theory, 2 skincare routines, a gaming stream, and a boy from Birmingham threatening to expose someone over a voice note. And then adults say, why can't schools improve outcomes? Maybe because half the class has arrived looking like they were raised by a haunted iPad. Let's be honest, a lot of parents have not been ambushed by technology. They surrendered. They did not lose the war. They signed a treaty. They gave the child the phone because it was easier than saying no. They gave the child the tablet because it brought silence. They gave the child the unrestricted internet because boundaries require energy. They allowed the bedroom to become a private nightclub for the algorithm because enforcing rules means having conflict. And too many parents are terrified of being disliked by the children they are supposed to raise. That is the rot. Too many homes are being run by children with Wi-Fi. The parent pays the bill, but the child runs the regime. The child decides bedtime. The child decides screen time. The child decides what is watched. The child decides when the phone goes away. The child decides whether there are consequences. The child decides whether the parent is allowed to parent. And the parent stands there like a hostage negotiator in slippers, whispering, please, just put it down now. No, you are not negotiating with a tiny landlord. You are raising a child. Children are not supposed to have adult-level access to addictive technology and child-level self-control. That is not freedom. That is negligence wearing a hoodie. We know these platforms are designed to keep people hooked. MPs are literally warning about addictive by design features, from infinite scrolling to algorithmic feeds. But here is the part everyone wants to dodge. If you know the machine is addictive and you still let your child sleep beside it every night, Then you have invited the machine into the nursery and asked it to babysit. You would not put a casino in a child's bedroom and say, well, hopefully they regulate themselves. You would not put a nightclub under their pillow and say they'll learn balance. You would not hand them a bag of sweets every night and act stunned when their teeth start filing a formal complaint. But a phone, suddenly everyone becomes a philosopher. They need independence. They need to learn responsibility. All their friends have one. I don't want them to feel left out. My child gets anxious without it. Of course they get anxious without it. That is the point. The app has trained their nervous system like a little lab rat in school shoes. And some parents are mistaking dependence for need. Your child does not need TikTok at midnight. Your child does not need Instagram under the duvet. Your child does not need group chat access during sleep hours. Your child does not need to be spiritually available to 37 classmates, 4 cousins, 2 strangers, and an algorithm that thinks their insecurity is a revenue stream. They need sleep. They need boredom. They need books, play, movement, conversation, routine, food, sunlight, boundaries, and an adult in the house who can say no without collapsing into guilt like a wet paper bag. And yes, I can already hear the excuses lining up in their little fluorescent jackets. Parents are tired. Yes, many are. Parents are working. Yes, many are. Parents are stressed. Yes, many are. Life is expensive. Absolutely. But difficulty does not cancel duty. Being tired does not mean your child should be raised by TikTok. Being overworked does not mean Instagram becomes deputy parent. Being stressed does not mean your household becomes a lawless digital swamp where the child's brain gets eaten nightly by autoplay. Parenting has never been convenient. That is literally the job description. It is inconvenient love with bills attached. And we need to stop pretending children are naturally wise digital citizens. They are not. They are children. Their brains are still developing. Their impulse control is still under construction. Their emotional regulation is still buffering. They do not need unlimited access to the most sophisticated attention harvesting systems ever built by capitalism. They need adults, actual adults, not adults who say, I can't take the phone because they'll kick off. Let them kick off. That is what boundaries do. They create noise before they create stability. A toddler cries when you take away scissors. That does not mean the toddler has made a compelling civil liberties argument. A teenager gets angry when you remove the phone at night. That does not mean the teenager has become Nelson Mandela of Snapchat. It means the boundary is working hard against a habit that has been allowed to grow teeth. Parents need to stop being scared of their children's reactions. The child is allowed to be angry. The parent is still allowed to be in charge. That sentence alone could save half the households in the country from digital decay. Because somewhere along the line, a lot of parents confuse kindness with weakness. They confuse listening with obeying. They confused emotional awareness with letting children run the house like tiny exhausted dictators with cracked screens. Children need respect, yes. They need dignity, yes. They need explanations, yes. They need safety, yes. But they also need structure. They need adults who understand that love is not always soft. Sometimes love is confiscating the phone at 9 p.m. and surviving the eye roll apocalypse. Sometimes love is turning off the Wi-Fi. Sometimes love is refusing to buy the smartphone in the first place. Sometimes love is saying no, you are not having a device in your bedroom overnight. Sometimes love is being unpopular in your own kitchen. The government can legislate. Schools can lock phones away. Platforms can be forced to remove addictive features. The Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act 2026 requires the government to impose some form of age or functionality restriction for children under 16 after pressure around under 16 social media access. Fine, do it. Regulate the tech giants. Drag the algorithm into the daylight and make it blink. But the state cannot come into every house at 10 p.m. and wrestle the phone out of Jaden's hand. At some point, the parent has to parent because the crisis is not only technological, it is cultural. We have normalized children being constantly entertained, constantly stimulated, constantly contactable, constantly watched and watching, constantly performing, constantly comparing, constantly scrolling through other people's faces while their own life becomes background noise. And then we wonder why they cannot sit still. We wonder why they cannot concentrate. We wonder why they are anxious. We wonder why they are rude. We wonder why they cannot handle boredom. We wonder why teachers say attention spans are collapsing because silence has been deleted from childhood. Boredom has been treated like abuse. Big tech built the trap. Parents opened the bedroom door. Both can be true. And until we admit that, we will keep producing children who are physically in school but mentally still trapped inside last night's scroll. Eyes open, brain offline, uniform on, soul buffering. Teachers cannot educate children who have been awake all night being raised by strangers on the internet. Schools cannot compete with a device engineered to be more addictive than homework, more stimulating than reading, more flattering than family conversation, and more available than most adults. So the message is simple. Take the phone, turn off the Wi-Fi, lock the apps, set the bedtime, survive the tantrum, raise the child,